can do the same thing. Square root of 4 is what again? Okay, and then square root of 3. You cannot have a radical on the bottom. You have to have it on top. So the way you get rid of it is you take the radical you're trying to get rid of, okay, and you're going to make a fraction with it. Right there. What's that fraction equivalent to? Okay, 1. So anytime you take a number and multiply by 1, do you change that number at all? No. We don't change it. If you multiply by 1, you get the same thing back. So it's okay that we're multiplying by 1 because we're not technically or mathematically changing anything. We're just changing how it looks. So we'll take our numerators, put them together, and then we'll take our denominators and put them together. Now just like here where we started with a problem that was all under the radical and then we separated it, these two are both under radicals, separate. We can put them back together. 2 square root of 3 over 3 times 3, which is what?
2 square root of 3 over 9. Top stays the same in the numerator. Square root of 9 is 3.
The first special triangle that we're going to discuss is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Okay, so 45, 45, 90 degree triangle I've drawn for you below. It's a 90 degree triangle, the two remaining angles being 45. What do we know about these two legs here? They're equal, they're the same. And that's because those base angles are the same. It's an isosceles right triangle. And what's this called? Hypotenuse. And then these are your legs. Here's the formula that we're going to use for this one. To get the hypotenuse, we're going to take the square root of 2 and multiply it by the leg. So I'm going to give you one of the legs now at 9. And we're going to plug it in to find the other leg and the hypotenuse. Do we know the other leg? It's 9, right? They're the same. Okay, we don't know the hypotenuse. So let's plug it into the formula. Square root of 2 times the leg, which is what? 9. This is not in the right form, so how do we rewrite this answer to be in the right form? 9 square root of 2. Is there anything else we can do to simplify this? There's our answer. There's our answer. Square root of 2. Okay, I gave you the leg. Can we label this other leg? It's the same thing, right? As long as you have one leg, you have the other. Let's plug the numbers into the hypotenuse here. Hypotenuse equals square root of 2 times the leg. And what's the leg? 2 square root of 2. We now have two numbers under the radicals. We want to combine them because we really don't want more than one radical in our answer. Okay, so what we're going to do is this is all multiplication. They're all next to each other. This is all multiplication. So we're going to bring down our number, 2, and then under our radical put our two other 2's. And we get 2 times the square root of 4. What is the square root of 4? So we get 2 times 2, and our answer is, and we're done. My other leg. Hypotenuse equals the square root of 2 times our leg. And let's bring our number that's not under the radical down and put our two numbers that go in the radical together. And be 5 square root of 6. Can we simplify the square root of 6 at all? We're done. So now we're going to plug this one in, only instead of writing hypotenuse, we have it. It's 6 equals the square root of 2 times the leg. And I need to find the leg. So how do I get this leg out of the equation? My understanding is yes. If you're using it for school, my understanding is yes. But I've not been told otherwise, so I double checked that with Mr. Clark, but I don't see why not. If you're gonna use a computer for classwork, use a computer for classwork. Yeah. All right. How do we get this L by itself so I can figure out what the legs are? Divide by L. we're going to divide. I've already taken off the line, so I've given that part away. What am I dividing by? Square root of 2, because I want the L by itself, so I need to get rid of what's attached to it. Everything I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Gone here. And I'm left with 6 over square roots on the bottom. So let's take care of that. What do I do to get rid of that? All right, top is 6 times the square root of 2 over square root of 2 times 2. 6 square root of 2. I'm going to add the next step, which is 4. Is that it? I have a fraction in here. What do I do with this fraction that's here in the lima bean? We need to reduce it. What would we reduce it to? And anytime you have anything over 1, you can either circle the whole thing, or that can be your answer. Okay, in this triangle, I need to label the different parts of the triangle, because this time we have 2 legs and we have a hypotenuse again, but the legs this time are not going to be the same. So what's this one called? And our 2 legs, if we look, this is going to be our shorter leg, so we're going to call that SL for shorter leg, and LL for long leg. Make sure you know that. All right, there are 3 formulas I'm going to give you. Okay, here's your first equation. You're going to take the hypotenuse. Will be the same thing as doubling the short leg. So if you have the short leg and times it by 2, you will get the hypotenuse. Equation 2 says if you take the long leg, or if you want the long leg, take the square root of 3 and multiply it by the short leg. All right, and then the third one is if you want the short leg, you take the long leg, multiply it by the square root of 3 over 3. Hypotenuse is 8. We need to find our other 2 sides. Which formula do we have to use first? 1, 2, or 3? We have to use 1 because it's the only one with hypotenuse in it. So hypotenuse equals 2 times the short leg. So what's our short leg? We want the long leg and have the short leg. Which equations should we use? We want the long leg, square root of 3 times the short leg, which is what? 4. Put that in the right form, and we get what? That's our answer. This time I'm giving you the long leg. Which one do you want to figure out first? Figure out the short leg first? Okay, so short leg equals the long leg, which is what? Square root of 3 over 3. Okay, now we need to figure out the hypotenuse. The only equation we can use is the first one. So hypotenuse equals 2 times the short leg. What is the short leg? 5 square root of 3 over 3 is the short leg. The whole thing. Because they're multiplying, if you're solving for x, you might want to, but we're just going to set that over 1. Anytime you have a whole number, set it over 1. Multiply the numerators, so you end up with 10 square root of 3. And then the denominators over 3. Is there anything I could do to put that in those terms? There you go. Square root of 6. Hypotenuse. Alright. So h equals 2 times the short leg, which is? Okay, 2 square root of 6. Is there anything else I need to do to that? Okay, we have the hypotenuse. So long leg equals square root of 3 from the formula times the short leg, which is what? 3 times 6, which is 18. Now is that simplified? And then what you need to do is you need to go back to this list, which means if I take the square root of 4, I'm going to get 2. I take the square root of 9, I'm going to get 3. These are all the numbers that you want to try and find in radicals and pull out because they're perfect squares. 18 is the number we're looking at. Do any of those numbers go into 18? Right? 9 goes into 18 how many times? 2. And we're going to break it down into 2 again, only this time it's going to be 9 and 2. Because 9 times 2 equals 18. give each one their own radical.